sheriff's office to make yourselves known.
No, it's just all crawl space.
This is a dark, creepy space. You gotta be ready for anything.
Absolutely. The clock was ticking. We needed to find them.
The steepest stairs I've ever seen.
The Haldersons are gone. They're missing.
Well, what do you mean they're missing? I can't even comprehend what that means.
The story is a couple came and picked them up and took them to the cabin.
And nobody knew who that couple was.
There was a concern that Bart and Krista had been kidnapped by this couple that picked them up early that morning.
There were all these questions. For each answer you get, there are 17 more questions.
What's going on in the household? You know, what aren't we discovering?
This case really highlighted how social media tracks everything. And that became so crucial.
I was like, hey, where you at? Where you at? Like, you're not responding to me on Snapchat.
You've got to get to that cabin. You've got to get to that cabin right now to figure out what happened.
Our mind goes to, did the worst happen?
So what happens next?
He kind of had the craziest phone call that I had in my law enforcement career. He couldn't say much, but I should probably watch the news the next day.
Holy.
I don't really have words for it, to be honest.
Fourth of July. It's a day when people come together to celebrate our independence and the spirit of America. And that's what you'll see in Madison, Wisconsin.
4th of July celebrations have been going on all weekend, but of course Americans are going all out today.
The lakes are really core to the identity of Madison. Just being around water, being around nature is really big to a lot of people here.
Madison is Wisconsin's gorgeous capital city. Built on a strip of land connecting Lakes Monona and Mendota, generations of families have come here to lay roots. But as residents of a small town just north of here would come to know, secrets, lies, and betrayal don't stop at these shores.
Bart and Krista Halderson lived in a community called Windsor, just north of Madison. Everyone who knew the Haldersons loved them.
We used to have a horseshoe league. Bart and Krista were on a horseshoe team. We competed against them 2-3 times a year. And just being neighbors, they were just people that ran into all the time. Absolutely salt of the earth people were Bart and Krista. Their house always looked good. It was well manicured, it was well mowed, it was always taken care of.
There were competitions in the neighborhood about who had the best lawn and who cared the most about their yards, and Bart cared about his yard.
Krista is an administrative assistant for a local auto shop, and Bart is an accountant.
Bart and Krista, they weren't rich, but they were comfortable.
Yeah, they were just regular people trying to do their best.
She was the youngest cousin, bright red hair. She was the baby of the family.
Barbie Townsend grew up in Southern California, but would often visit her younger cousin Krista at the family's rustic cabin in northern Wisconsin.
Krista was fun, energetic, creative. She just was very exuberant, very outgoing.
Happy person, it sounds
Very
like.
happy, yeah. Loved her lot in life.
I know you got to know Bart a little bit later, but what was he like?
I was happy for her that she found her person, and they were a really good team.
They complemented each other.
Definitely, definitely. You know, he would have his strengths and she would have her strengths, but they always were together.
Barbie told me that nothing matters more to Krista and Bart than their two sons, Mitchell and Chandler.
They poured themselves into their children. They did family nights, game nights. They would cook dinner, barbecue together. In spring 2021, Krista had sent a picture of them all standing together. She was so proud of them. Mitchell had been with his girlfriend at that time about 7 years, and Chandler had been with Kat maybe 2 years, on and off.
Mitchell, the oldest, works in IT, and he lives with his fiancée, not far from his parents' home. And Chandler, an Eagle Scout, is a young man on the rise. He's working part-time for an insurance company, living at home while finishing his college degree, And that's not all.
Chandler had told his family about this great job opportunity he had been given with SpaceX. He would move to Florida, and actually he would bring his girlfriend with him.
Everything was going well for everyone. I don't know any family who wouldn't want to be in the situation the Haldersons were in.
But in June of 2021, the Haldersons' good fortune takes a turn.
Their eldest son, Mitchell, was diagnosed with diabetes. And then right after that, their younger son, Chandler, fell down a flight of stairs at the Haldersons' home.
He was taken to the hospital, and he was diagnosed with a head injury.
In that picture, on Father's Day of 2021, standing next to Bart, he's got the brace on. His neck was injured and was going to affect his ability to walk. He might have a colostomy bag. He couldn't fly, so he couldn't go back to Florida for the job. Like his whole life was going to change because he had this fall.
I know once he was in that neck brace, his job situation with SpaceX was kind of pushed on the back burner.
It seemed like he would not be able to take the job at SpaceX. He wouldn't be able to help around the house. He wasn't even able to walk properly. And after that, Chandler required help. His mother would assist him going up and down stairs, would bring him meals.
Although Krista doted on her sons in their time of need, she rarely missed a day of work. So on Friday morning, July 2nd, when she fails to show up at her job, co-workers are concerned.
Krista was one of these people who was always at work, and she always let people know what her plans were.
It's a Friday right before the 4th of July holiday, but she hadn't asked off. She hadn't told anyone she wasn't going to be there. It was really unusual for her to not show up for work. She'd never done it before.
She wasn't answering her phone. A co-worker decided to go over to the house and make sure she was okay. When he looked in the garage, both of the Haldersons' cars were there.
The Haldersons aren't here. Their cars are here. Where are the Haldersons?
Now, the Haldersons have a family cabin they love to go to on weekends. And initially, there's some speculation that this is where Bart and Krista are. But none of the neighbors saw them leave.
As far as we know, no one saw the Haldersons that day.
They told their neighbors when they were going up to the cabin, who they were going to be with, where they were going to be. So for there to be so many unknowns about what happened that weekend was a little unusual.
And when Krista fails to make a medical appointment on Monday, it really raises red flags.
She was recovering from some skin cancer, and so this was an important appointment for her.
Is it like her to just miss that appointment or not tell anybody she wasn't
No,
going to make it?
Chris is not the person that would just not show up.
Everyone who knows her says she wouldn't have missed that appointment. She was planning to be there, and then she wasn't. And that's when people really start to get concerned, because no one knows where Bart and Krista are.
All of a sudden, my wife comes in the bedroom and she says, the Haldersons are gone. They're missing. My mind went to the bad spot, like, that is not right. It was just kind of disturbing for somebody that I know that well to suddenly be gone.
What's going through your mind?
Something's really wrong. I don't know what and why and how, but something's really wrong.